Today, if I sound a little different, I'm sorry. I'm using a different microphone setting, and I hope it sounds very good for you guys, better than what it was before. But today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite archetypes from Yu-Gi-Oh! And this archetype hasn't seen any support since 2014 from Primal Origins. And if you guys know me very well, I'm a big fan of Hazy Flames. Hazy Flames are a deck that are based around level 6 fire monsters that have Beast Warriors, Pyro, Winged Beast monsters all within the deck, including one dinosaur monster. And I have been waiting personally so long for brand new support for this deck, as it has been grueling trying to get this deck to work, even though that we got brand new dinosaur support that helps out the deck a little, but I really haven't solved it that much. We also had Bestials, but also you need fire monsters for the deck to work that are level 6. And luckily we do have a Fire King structure deck reloaded coming later this year that the OCG is going to be getting, and hopefully us as well, that will revitalize some of these cards or put them into the deck, so there's a possibility in the future that they will get support. Let's do a rundown of every single card in the archetype and talk about them. First up, we have one of the best cards in the deck, being Hazy Flame HYDRA. It is a level 6 dinosaur fire effect monster, 2300 attack and 200 defense. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. That is their main grasp of the deck, where your opponent cannot target them with card effects, so you need stuff that is a multitude negate, like stuff about Forbidden Droplets, or even Dark Rule and no more. And you cannot special summon monsters except fire monsters, so it locks you into fire monsters, so Bestials are out the window already. An Exceed monster that was summoned using this card as an Exceed material gains this effect. When it is Exceed summoned, target one Hazy Flame monster in your graveyard, attach that target to this card as an Exceed material. So if you guys haven't noticed yet, they are based around non-targeting, big beat sticks, and also attaching materials to their Exceed, which I really do like that aspect of the deck because it is unique and it hasn't really been explored upon that much outside of a few cards here and there. Then we have Hazy Flame Manticore. It is a level 6 Wing Beast Fire, 2200 attack, 300 defense, and your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Once per turn, during either player's turn, you can send one fire monster except this card from your hand or face up from your side of the field to the graveyard. This card cannot be destroyed by card effects this turn. So it's a way to get around battle destructions or even effect destructions, which I really do like, but it really doesn't fit the aspect of the deck. Sure, it is a mythical beast, but I feel like that this card could have been a little better by giving it a... It is slightly like Pankratops, but it is a worse Pankratops. After that, we have Hazy Flame Hippogriff. This was only from the Fire King structure deck in the TCG, but it was from a promotional pack in the OCG. It's a level 6 Fire Pyro monster, 2100 attack, 200 defense. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Once per turn, you contribute one other fire monster. This card gains 300 attack. This is like the most useless one out of the whole archetype, because it's just there with a 200 body. I would probably just run one, so maybe 0 depending on how it is. After that, we have Hazy Flame Cerberus. This is one of the better cards, being a level 6 fire beast monster, so you could technically run Tri-Brigades in here. You can normal summon this card without tributing, but its original attack becomes 1000, which is absolutely fine. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects, and when this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, sadly, you can add one Hazy Flame card from your deck to your hand, which, in my opinion, I really do like, because it just gets everything from your deck to your hand. Now, things you could trigger this with is the True King monster, which is the Fire True King in Agnimazad. The Vanisher can easily trigger this card multiple copies, which I really do like, and then you could just add in, yeah. You could banish one monster to your opponent's field or graveyard, I guess. But honestly, being able to search multiple times per turn is very, very powerful, only on destruction, so I really hope that the new Fire King stuff help out this deck. After that, we have Hazy Flame Sphinx. This is the best card. This was a precursor to things like Spirals, because your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. You could declare one type, monster, spell, or trap, send the top card of your deck to the graveyard, then if it was a declared type, you could special summon one fire monster from your hand or graveyard. You can only use this effect of Hazy Flame Sphinx once per turn. Being able to summon out whatever you milled is amazing, and most of the time you're running 90% monsters. Sometimes you run a spell or trap, like your two in archetype spells or traps. And honestly, this card along with Cerberus are very big punching bags. One could be rekindling, the other cannot, but that is the downside on some of these cards, of which half the archetype alone are just rekindling targets. Next up, we have a Hazy Flame PERYTON. This is the best card of the deck because it cannot be special summoned except by a Hazy Flame monster effect, so very limited. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. You could send one fire monster from your hand to the graveyard and tribute this card. Special summon two Hazy Flame monsters from your deck. So mostly you're going to be summoning out things like Hydra and Sphinx, being able to overlay the two, attaching the PERYTON back, so now you have 3 materials on your Basiltrice. And this card alone helps set up your Hazy Flame Sphinx plays. It also sets up your Hazy Flame Cerberus's plays, which I really do like. And then we also have a Hazy Flame Griffin. If your opponent controls a monster, and all the monsters, if any, on your side of the field are and in your graveyard are fire, and only fire, you can special summon this card from your hand, and your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. This card, just being able to special out for free with not a hard once per turn either. It's just a mandatory 3 of, because of how many you can summon out in an instant. If you draw 3 of them, cool, you get 3 monsters. If you draw 2, you have 2. If you draw 1, you have 1. This card is really, really optimal, and honestly, there's quite a bit of cards that could utilize this in some of their decks that are just pure fire if you need a extender, which I really do like. Now, luckily, one of the cards that just came off the ban list for the TCG was Blaster, Dragon Ruler of the Infernos, so you can run this card with the deck, being able to have another way to discard your cards from your hand to the graveyard. Then we have a Hazy Pillar. This is the continuous spell card. You can normal summon Hazy Flame monsters for 1 less tribute. Once per turn, you can target one face-up Xyz monster you control, attach a Hazy Flame monster from your hand or side of the field to that Xyz monster as an Xyz material. Being able to juice up your Basiltrice is very powerful. Being able to juice up a lot of your rank 6s are pretty cool, and there's quite a bit of rank 6s that there are when we look at the grand scheme of things. This deck being a rank 6 focused deck, you can also run Hita the Fire Charmer Ablaze, you can also run Hita the Fire Channeler, but there's quite a bit of rank 6s that you can go into, like number 39 Utopia Beyond for the OTK potential, or even the brand new Transcendric Drill Gnatheus. This card definitely helps out the deck because it is a rank 6 that you can go into that inflicts double damage, and you can detach one material from this card, target one of your banished dinosaur monsters, and you just special summon it. Which I really do like because it pairs very much well with Hazy Flame Hydra. Another staple rank 6 that you have is Photon Strike Bouncer, being a walking negate. Once per turn during the player's turn, a monster effect is activated. Detach material, negate the effect and inflict 1,000 to your opponent. But also you can run things probably like Evilzor's Solda, because you do have dinosaurs. And there's just quite a bit that you can just use, like the brand new Evilzor Rasa. This new Evilzor support helps out the deck too. But enough of that ranting. We have Hazy Glory. This is the continuous trap card. It does the exact same thing in Pillar, as it makes all your Hazy Flame monsters 1 less tribute. You could send this face-up card from the field to the graveyard to target a Hazy card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So very susceptible to things like DD Crow, but you're getting a Hazy card back from your graveyard to your hand, which is a myriad of 8 other cards, which is kind of sad because this deck only has 10 total cards, and I've been hoping that this would get more support over the past 9 years. It's almost been 10 years since the last support. Now, some of the cards that you can run in the deck that are very, very good, that utilizes the engines quite well, are things like Flameful Fire Drug, as When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can special summon one fire monster with 200 defense or less from your graveyard or from your deck except a fire dog. So really your targets are Cerberus, Hippogriff, and Hydras, so you really don't have much to go off of. And with monsters with 200 defense, you also have Rekindling, being able to Rekindling 5. I have done that in the past before, being 2 fire dogs and 2 Cerberuses, which is very, very good. And Flameville Counter being a counter trap for the deck, which I really think should get a Searcher, even though I got one with the Battling Boxer support. But I want to know what you guys think about this archetype. Should it get more support in the future to possibly break it, like how they have done with things like Super Heavy Samurai, Spiral, or even Tier Limit being on that level of broken? Or should we wait to see what the Fire King structure deck has to offer? Because the Fire King structure deck gave a lot of amazing support to this deck, like your Circle of the Fire King being able to target your Cerberus and a fire monster in your graveyard, summon that monster, destroy the Cerberus, and then you get a search, because it's it's a win effect, but you could still be able to get so much. Then you also have stuff like Fire King Island to being able to search your Fire King monsters to help facilitate your Hazy Flame cards, which I really do like. And plus they all mostly have 200 defense outside of Grunix and Grunix. But anyways, I've been Bolt Spider. I want to know what you guys think about this deck as a whole, but we also didn't cover Basiltrice. If you guys don't know, Hazy Flame Basiltrice was one of my favorite content creators growing up. Profile picture. It is a rank 6 Pyro Exceed monster, 2500 attack, 1800 defense, and this was the channel mascot for Yugimation. Yugimation was a wonderful animator, and I really loved his slapstick comedy, cardboard cutout, animated style of videos. But Basiltrice is a special card, as 2 or more, maximum 5 level 6 fire monsters. Once per turn, you can attach 1 Exceed material from this card to target 1 monster your opponent controls or in their graveyard. Banish that target, and this card gains effects based on a number of Exceed materials attached to it. 3 or more, it gains 200 attack and defense for each Exceed material attached to it. 4 or more, this card cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects. 5 or just 5, this card cannot be destroyed by card effects. So essentially, if you had 5 materials on this card constantly, cannot be targeted, cannot be destroyed by card effects. Your opponent had to deal with a walking 3500 attack monster. But this deck, I feel like, has been lost to the sand of Yu-Gi-Oh's time, as we see R&D focusing on other aspects of the game, like Super Heavy Samurai, which was an amazing move, even though that they did ban Scarecrow. And they're looking at other decks as well. If we look at Duelist Nexus with the new Synchron support, that stuff is very powerful, and I might be able to splash that into this deck as a little sub engine for level 9 Synchros. But I want to know what you guys think about Hazy Flames. Tell me down in the description below, or comments below. Anyways, I've been Bolt Spider. See you guys in the next video, and goodbye.